Oh, welcome back. The time is now 7:54, and the cancellation of college sports is devastating for fans.
Fans and players alike, but it's even more crushing again for those student athletes. Earlier this week, of course, the Big Ten, Pac-12 conferences, they announced their fall football season is canceled. Not just college athletes that are affected as well. School districts around the nation are also struggling with how to pull off games while also practicing COVID safety. So with ways to keep our student athletes thinking positive and keep their heads up, we're joined now by former sports marketing executive and CEO of the Positive Athlete, Scott Pederson. So good morning, Scott.
Good morning. How are you?
We're great. We're great. So before we dive into the topic at hand and remaining positive for these athletes and their families, what is the Positive Athlete?
Well, Positive Athlete was an organization, or is an organization, that I started with former Super Bowl MVP Hines Ward. I know other side of the state and everything, but what we did was we created an award and celebrations of kids who were doing things in the community. They were athletes, but they were kids who either overcame difficult circumstances, or they were kids who gave back to their schools and communities in a significant way. And it was a different kind of an award because, normally the celebrations are of kids because what they do on the field or on the court. And these awards are more for kids who are going to do things in life that they're preparing, these kind of soft skills in life, and awarding them, for being good kids.
Like that spin on it, though.
Yeah. Well, Scott, many student athletes are faced with the reality that they just will not have a season this year. And that's really hard because they've been working all year up to that point. So what do you advise them to do in order to think positively?
Well, I think, again, kids get wrapped up in sports because a lot of it is that this is their peer group. This is where they have long bus rides together and they get to know other kids, and their best friends are made a lot of times in sports. So it is pretty rough on them right now. But I think the one thing you have to remember, and it's hard for kids to understand, is that, the long term of sports, the things you learn in sports are about leadership and overcoming things, winning and losing, and building teamwork and stuff like that. And I think that having the perspective that these are times in which, if you're not playing, are the perfect time to exhibit all of those kinds of skills, like leadership, reaching out and encouraging somebody, another teammate. This is where leaders are born, in these kinds of situations. And so an athlete who's thinking this way, and a coach, I'm sure coaches would love to see kids say, I'm going to take the bull by the horns here, and I'm going to become a leader in a very negative situation.
Yeah, and you mentioned the leadership with athletes helping other athletes, which is such a big part of what we're all going through. But you also discourage your student athletes from kind of thinking, why me? That's an easy road to go down during this pandemic, is maybe thinking why this happened to me in my particular career.
Yeah, I've talked to, we have a show where we interview professional Olympic athletes, and I've talked to some Olympic athletes who had the rug pulled out from underneath them. And I asked them, what did you do, or how did you approach this? Because, this is your big time to shine, and now it's going to get shoved back another year. Maybe, you hope Tokyo happens in 2021. But they said, this is an opportunity for me to get better at whatever I'm doing. And normally you don't have those times in which you have a chance to, what are my weak points in sports? What could I be doing to get better as an athlete? And many of them have said, this was a time where I got in better shape. I viewed my games a little differently, did some more do some self-reflection. And I think that those are the kind of things that the elite athletes are doing, and the kind of things that a young high school athlete ought to be doing themselves.
Yeah. Well, awesome tips right there. But Scott, where can people go to get more information about this?
Well, you can go to positiveathlete.org, and you can hear a lot of stories. You can hear these interviews of some of these Olympic and pro athletes, and them telling their stories. We did this so that kids could be encouraged by athletes that, from every different kind of sport. So if you're a softball player or you're a football player or whatever you play, we have a different athlete from a different pro or Olympic sport on positiveathlete.org that you can listen to and get some encouragement and tips.
All right, Scott, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.